He broke into a secure frequency and asked for the one pilot who wasn't supposed to fly again. The request came hours before anyone realized what it meant. But at that moment, 35,000 feet above the desert, she was just another forgotten name on the flight log. Brown earth cut by irregular lines of roads and settlements. Mountains rising like jagged teeth. Peaceful from this altitude, up here, with the curve of the earth visible and the sky fading to purple. It was almost easy to forget. Almost. Captain Arden Voss adjusted her grip on the throttle of her F-16 eyes, scanning the HUD with the calm precision of someone who didn't miss things. Not anymore. 18 months ago. She'd been pulled off active status. Officially, temporary reassignment. Unofficially sidelined. Her call sign, Eclipse, used to carry weight. Now it echoed in briefing rooms like a ghost no one dared invoke. She wasn't grounded, just forgotten. Tag-along duty. Backseat observer. Radio silent unless the sky was burning. But she never stopped showing up early. Never stopped reviewing threat matrices. Never stopped flying in the simulator long after the others had logged off. Because forgetting how to fly was harder than forgetting how to breathe. Ghost flight. This is control. ISR platform reports all systems nominal. Maintain current heading and altitude. The lead, Captain Jace Torres. Acknowledged for the formation. Arden stayed on backup comms, hands steady, posture exact. Formation flying wasn't flashy. It was discipline in motion. Throttle, trim, telemetry, matching vectors down to the inch, and for 47 minutes. Everything behaved. No radar anomalies, no weather deviations, no surprises. Until Control's voice returned this time. With an edge, ghost flight. We're showing signal loss on ISR platform. Last telemetry indicated possible contact bearing 090, altitude unknown. Copy. Torres replied immediately, breaking to defensive. Arden watched the Raptors ahead of her shift wide. Textbook maneuver, smooth, efficient. But then, a flicker. Her radar pinged something, not solid, not steady. It blinked in, blinked out, offset by 3 degrees the next time, ghost signal. She adjusted gain, switched to sweep scan. Same result. It wasn't noise. It was intentional. She'd seen this dance before years ago, buried deep in a joint training program testing early stealth masking. You had to know how radar worked to beat it, how to ride the terrain, how to breathe between pulses, how to disappear. Control. Eclipse. She keyed in. I've got intermittent radar contact, bearing 085, pattern suggests active masking. A pause, then Torres again, Eclipse. Maintain position. We'll handle it. Copy, she said, but her eyes never left the scope. The signal returned. Faint, precise, never enough to lock, always enough to tease. Her fingers hovered near the manual tracking controls, and just as she started to reach, every radio in the formation exploded in static. White noise, high frequency, blinding. Then, silence, followed by a voice. Calm, male, unencrypted. Ghost flight. This is an unofficial contact, requesting dialogue with callsign Eclipse. Torres's voice cracked in immediately. Unknown contact. You are in violation of controlled airspace. Identify and state intentions. The reply came instantly. I seek only to speak with Eclipse. She will understand why. Arden froze. 8 years in the air. And no one had ever said her name like that over open comms. At 30,000 feet. The world looked harmless, brown earth below, stitched with roads and broken settlements. In the distance, the mountains rose like jagged teeth against a softening sky. It was beautiful, peaceful in that detached way only altitude could deliver. Up here, where the curve of the earth brushed the edge of violet space, it was easy to forget about review boards, easy to forget the last 18 months of silence, easy to remember why she'd wanted to fly in the first place. Ghost flight. This is Control, said a calm voice through comms. ISR platform Spectre 9 reports all systems nominal. Maintain current heading and altitude. Captain Beck Rourke. Flight lead. Clicked back. Copy that. Holding formation. Arden Voss didn't respond. She wasn't supposed to. She was Eclipse. Shadow escort. F-16 rear position. Backup comms only. That was the unspoken rule tagalongs don't speak unless the sky is burning. For the next 47 minutes, the mission unfolded exactly as expected. Clear skies, clean radar, no deviations. Voss settled into the rhythm hand steady, mind sharp. Aircraft flowing through the air like an extension of her pulse. Flying like this was almost meditative. Tiny corrections to stick and throttle, eyes scanning 6 instruments at once, keeping a $30 million aircraft perfectly aligned at speed within a formation where one sloppy movement could kill you or someone else. From the outside, it looked routine. From inside the cockpit, it was a dance of absolute trust. Arden had always been good at it. Even now, sidelined and forgotten, she flew with the unconscious precision of someone who never stopped learning. Because aviation real flying wasn't about aggression. It was about never making a mistake. Then everything changed in 3 seconds. Ghost flight. Said control. Voice suddenly clipped. We're showing signal loss on ISR platform. Last telemetry indicates possible contact bearing 09U. Altitude unknown. Rourke responded immediately. Voice tight. Copy. Breaking to defensive pattern. The Raptors ahead of her fanned out in seconds, snapping into a wider net, each pilot taking a quadrant. Textbook response. They looked like hawks mid-hunt. Arden stayed back, just like she was told. But then she saw it. On the edge of her radar scope, barely there. A flicker. Gone. Back again. Not solid, not noise. Something in between. A ghost. It blinked on for 2 sweeps. Disappeared. Then reappeared 30 seconds later in a different spot, same altitude. Same bearing drift. Too deliberate for atmospheric interference. Too erratic for a mechanical failure. Too familiar to ignore. She'd seen this before, back when she worked electronic warfare tests during her early years before anyone cared who Eclipse was. Back when she ran patterns no one else could spot. Radar masking, active evasion. It was the mark of a pilot who knew how to bend radar physics to their will. How to dance in the blind spots never long enough to be targeted. Just long enough to see. She adjusted gain, changed sweep mode, tried a manual scan. The signature didn't vanish, it just dodged. Control. Eclipse. She said before she could stop herself. Intermittent radar contact. Bearing 085. Suspected deliberate masking. Silence. Then Rourke's voice. Cool and flat. Eclipse. Maintain position. We'll investigate. She copied back, but kept watching her scope. The contact didn't break pattern. It stayed just out of range, like it was waiting for something, waiting for her. It reminded her of something from deep in her tactical training. A technique she wasn't supposed to know. One of her instructors once said, if a pilot doesn't want to be seen, but needs to keep eyes on you, they'll mask intermittently. Long enough to see, short enough to disappear before you lock on. Ghost lead. Control, said the voice over comms. Primary radar shows no contact. Can you confirm visual? Rourke didn't hesitate. Negative visual. Scope's clean, but Voss's scope wasn't clean. It was pulsing, in and out. Still dancing. She reached for the comm again, then paused. The last time she reported a phantom contact, it cost her everything. She hesitated. And that's when every frequency in the formation exploded with static. A wall of white noise hit her headset sharp, violent, blinding. It drowned everything out for exactly 3 seconds. Then, as suddenly as it came, the noise vanished, and a new voice, unfamiliar. Calm. Male, cut in. Unencrypted. Clear. With just enough accent to be impossible to place. Ghost flight. This is an unofficial contact requesting dialogue, with call sign Eclipse. The formation went silent. Arden's blood turned to ice. In her earpiece, she could hear Torres breathing hard, trying to process what had just happened. Someone had not only breached their encrypted comms, but done it so cleanly they were now broadcasting in the clear, over a frequency that wasn't supposed to exist. Unknown contact. Torres barked. "You are in violation of controlled airspace. Identify yourself and state your intentions." The reply came instantly. "Calm, unhurried. I mean no harm to your formation. I request contact with Eclipse. She will understand why." Arden's fingers gripped the throttle. Her call sign, spoken like a secret someone wasn't supposed to know, spoken like history calling back. Torres switched to the tactical channel. "Eclipse, do you know what this is about?" 3 heartbeats. Then her voice, negative. "Lead. No known contact with foreign assets." But even as she said it, something stirred. Not memory, not yet, just a pattern, a cadence, a whisper behind the sound. She switched channels. Scanning the signal, 3-layer encryption bypassed, direct access to squadron comms. Whoever this was, either they'd built the system or they'd broken it before, like someone who once had clearance to be inside it. The voice returned. "Eclipse remembers 7 trees. She was there when the real mission ended." The words hit her like a physical blow. 7 trees. A black site op that didn't exist. A mission buried under 6 layers of deniability. Officially, a VIP escort gone wrong. In reality, a human intel cleanup mission that had spiraled into bloodshed. She had made a call that night. Broken radio silence, extracted personnel, defied command, and lost everything for it. "You're supposed to be dead," she said quietly, more to herself than the voice. It didn't deny it. And yet here we are. She glanced at her radar. The ghost signal was dancing again just on the edge of lock. Whoever this was, they knew how to be seen without being found. Control. Eclipse requesting permission for independent contact with unknown aircraft. She said. Chaos exploded on comms. Torres shouting for her to hold formation. A command officer yelling for clarification. Intelligence breaking protocol to ask if she'd lost her mind. And beneath it all, the ghost waited. Then Eclipse. A new voice. Base Commander, Colonel Briggs. "Explain your request." She took a breath. "Sir, the unknown contact referenced a mission I was directly involved in, one that is not public record. I believe he has information related to an active compromise." Briggs paused. Then permission granted, limited engagement, weapons cold. No deviation from current sector, copy. She switched to the shadow channel, a frequency barely anyone knew still existed. "This is Eclipse." "I'm listening." The reply was a knife made of memory. "Hello, Arden." She didn't breathe. He'd used her real name, not just her call sign, her classified name tied to only 3 black operations in UAATBO history, and only one man had ever spoken it like that. "You have me at a disadvantage," Arden said, steadying her voice. "I think you know who I am." A pause. "You should. I saved your life 3 years ago." And just like that it clicked. The voice, the timing, the shape of the maneuver he'd used to stay hidden. It all pointed to one name. Someone who'd been flying a black market Su-35 over hostile territory when Wraith Signal went sideways. Someone who, by all accounts, was supposed to help wipe out her team. But when the moment came, he didn't. Arden had watched it happen. Watched his bird get lit up by his own allies, punishment for refusing an order. That's when she knew. He wasn't the enemy. Just another asset caught in the crossfire of a mission designed to disappear. Someone she'd risked her wings to extract alongside her own. And the moment they landed back at base, he vanished. No report, no mention, no debrief, just silence. "Drake," she said quietly, "in the flesh." Came the reply. Or at least, in the cockpit. She glanced down at her radar screen. The ghost contact was still pulsing, barely visible, like a shadow flickering at the edge of consciousness. "You're supposed to be dead. I'm supposed to be a lot of things." Drake replied. "None of them worked out according to plan. Arden's mind was racing. "What do you want to return a favor?" he said simply. "And because there's something happening, something you need to know. I'm listening, not over the radio. Come up to Angels 40, alone." She hesitated. 3 miles ahead. She could practically feel Commander Rourke watching her through his canopy. "I can't authorize that. You authorized Wraith Signal," Drake said. "This is smaller." And in that moment, everything from the last 18 months crashed in at once. The meetings where no one asked her opinion. The missions she was told to observe. Never engage. The looks. The whispers. The muttered name, dead weight. And now? The man who'd been hunted for 3 years had risked exposure to contact her. "Give me 2 minutes," she said. She switched back to command comms. "Control. Eclipse requesting permission to investigate the unknown contact at higher altitude." "Negative." Rourke snapped. "You maintain formation." But then another voice cut in. Calm. Authoritative. "Eclipse. This is Admiral Decker. Authorization granted. Weapons cold. No deviation beyond recon pattern. Return on command. Copy." Arden pulled back on the stick. The F-16 climbed toward the thinnest layer of air, where physics started breaking down and visibility became a gamble. Below her, the formation fell away. Above her was a ghost. At 40,000 feet, she finally saw him. The aircraft didn't match any known schematics. Angular, matte black. No visible insignia. Wings that seemed to bend the light around them. It looked like someone had taken a stealth fighter and stripped it down to pure intense speed and silence. "Thanks. It wasn't supposed to fly again." "Neither was I." They flew side by side for 30 seconds. 2 ghosts suspended at the edge of space. Then Drake spoke. "They buried Wraith Signal, but they couldn't bury what we learned." "What do you mean?" she asked. "Arms dealers, shell corporations, people inside our own system, people meant to safeguard the truth they were part of it. You're saying Wraith wasn't an intel failure? No. It was sabotage. Someone wanted the operation to fail and the evidence to die with us." She went cold. "We were set up. I'm saying we were loose ends, and someone's still trying to tie us off." Below them, the earth looked small and calm. Above them, the sky had turned dark, blending into the vacuum, a place where no nation claimed jurisdiction. "Why are you telling me this now?" she asked quietly. "Because they've been trying to kill me for 3 years, and yesterday. I intercepted a comm. They're coming for you next." Her stomach dropped. "The ISR sweep. It's not what they told you. That drone's not just collecting terrain data. It's mapping a black site, a facility holding prisoners from Wraith Signal. Prisoners who were supposed to be transferred. Instead, they disappeared." "How do you know that?" "Because I've been watching them, listening. And yesterday, your name came up. They know you remember too much." She stared straight ahead. "So what do you want from me?" "Help me finish what we started. There's evidence at that site, enough to bring them down, but I can't get in alone. And if I say no, then you go back to formation, finish your mission, and pray they let you grow old in silence." She looked down at her fuel gauge. 10 minutes? That's all she had. 10 minutes to decide whether to trust a man who should be dead or return to a life where truth stayed buried. "What's the plan?" Drake's aircraft dipped, banking toward a patch of air that didn't exist on any official chart. "Follow me." And for the second time in 3 years, Arden Voss made a choice that would end her career. She turned away from the formation, away from protocol, away from everything that had kept her safe, and followed a ghost into silence. 20 minutes later, the fuel warning light blinked red and reality hit like gravity. Captain Arden Voss had to turn back. She'd followed a ghost into forbidden airspace, abandoned her formation, disobeyed every standing order from command. And now she'd have to explain to people who didn't believe in shadows why she'd chosen to chase one. She banked toward home. Engines low, radar silent. Then Drake's voice cut through the quiet one last time. "Arden, watch your back. When they come for you, and they will remember. Being called a tag-along. That's not the worst thing they can do to someone who knows too much. The flight home felt like an hour wrapped in barbed wire. When she landed, the tarmac was already lined. Half the command staff stood waiting, arms crossed, faces locked. They didn't need to say it. Their expressions told her everything about her future in aviation. But for the first time in 18 months, she felt like herself again, like someone worth calling by name. 6 hours later, a windowless room. No clocks, no sunlight. Just her. A stack of questions, and 4 intelligence officers who all asked the same thing in different ways. Who was he? Why you? What did he say? Do you have proof? She thought about ghosts, about secrets so deep they stopped being real, and about the thin line between being invisible and being forgotten. At 1800 hours, Colonel Briggs walked in, a manila folder in hand thicker than it looked. He didn't speak at first, just dismissed the others with a glance and sat across from her. "Valkyrie," he said softly, "we need to talk." He slid a photograph across the table. Her gun camera footage, multiple angles of Drake's modified aircraft, bottom right corner a registration number. That shouldn't exist. That jet was destroyed 3 years ago, Briggs said, along with its pilot. Arden's jaw locked. Drake Strava, former Russian Air Force, defected during an operation that never happened. Another photo, Drake in an American flight suit standing beside an F-22. He was one of ours, Briggs said, 4 years before Project Blacktrace. And suddenly the puzzle snapped into place. He hadn't been coordinating enemy forces. He was trying to coordinate their escape. And when the orders came down to eliminate the prisoners, he said no, just like she had. So they buried him. Closed casket. No questions, classified forever. Today, Briggs said. He contacted you and led us to a location we've been trying to access for 3 years. Arden leaned in. What's there? Everything. Communications logs, mission briefings, proof that Project Blacktrace wasn't a failure. It was treason. She exhaled, slow, heavy. So, what happens now? Briggs offered a thin smile. Now you're reinstated. Full combat authorization, wings back, effective immediately. We need pilots who know when not to follow orders. And Drake. That depends on whether he's willing to come in from the cold, and whether you're willing to bring him home. She thought about that voice in the dark asking for her by name, on a frequency no one else could hear. When do we start? She asked. 2 weeks later, Arden stood at the flight line just before dawn. Sunlight stretched across the desert in gold. Her new flight suit bore one word stitched in silver thread, Valkyrie, and just below it. Smaller, quieter from the shadows. No more F-16. They'd given her an F-22, global clearance, full payload. But today, she wasn't flying a mission. She was waiting. At 0630, a black speck appeared over the horizon. No IFF, no flight plan, just a silhouette the world had forgotten, finally ready to come home. As Drake touched down, she keyed her radio. Welcome home. Ghost. His voice came back, clear and strong. Good to be back, Valkyrie. And for the first time since Blacktrace, her call sign meant something again. They could take your wings. They could bury your name. They could silence your story. But they couldn't erase one thing. When someone who'd survived 3 years in the dark needed help, they asked for you. By name. Sometimes the most dangerous thing you can be is someone worth remembering. On Stories Unseen, we don't just tell the stories that made headlines, we tell the ones that were buried beneath them. Because sometimes, the only survivor is the only one who knows the truth.